You told me to talk about myself, so I will. Well, not really. I'm going to be talking about my Dungeons and Dragons character, which is called Nyx, which also just so happens to be the one that I'm drawing right now. As you may or may not know, I dabble in some D&D, and this is just one of the characters that I made for one of my friends' campaigns. I am to draw all of the characters that are part of said campaign. I've already drawn one of them, which I will post eventually, maybe, possibly. I already have permission from the owner of the character, which is my friend, but I don't know, I've been hesitant to post it for some reason. I don't know. But this isn't about the other characters. This is about me. So let's get into it. To give you some backstory about Nyx, I decided to make them not only a silly, goofy little bard, but also a changeling. And our DM told us to write like little backstories for them. So basically my backstory for them is, being a changeling is hard. Upon doing some research into what changelings are, is because while I was making the character, I knew what a changeling was based on fairy tales and stuff, but within the D&D lore, I wasn't 100% sure, so I did some research, and I did some research outside of just the lore. So yeah, being a changeling is hard. From what I've gathered, you're kind of a blank slate waiting to take another person's shape. Basing your appearance off of what you see from other people around you. So, I'm talking about a character that is just taking identity after identity. One day, they're a poor human child just running around the streets, tripping unsuspecting pedestrians, doing whatever children do within the time period that this plays out. And then on other days, they're this large, beastly, knuckle-dragging orc type of person, just constantly changing the identity that they have, and just having a hard time to remember themselves. I kind of wanted to create this identity crisis type of situation for Nyx. So yeah, Nyx never really felt comfortable in their body. They thought that the ghostly, milky looking eyes that they had seemed rather lifeless in comparison to the shine that everyone else has had. The unique mixture of browns, blues, golds, the fact that no pair of eyes are exactly the same, and it makes everyone unique. Something that they know as Nyx, that they would never really be able to have for themselves. The only thing that they would ever be able to do is just copy what everyone else has, and try to make it their own, but even then, it's not really you. You're always going to be a copycat in that sense. It's uniqueness is just something that a copycat in essence isn't meant to have, because you're copying people. So I just made Nyx in essence very jealous of people that can have their uniqueness. Of course, when they're in their natural original changeling form, they don't look like everyone else, but it's complicated. They don't really see a lot of changelings, because I'm imagining that this is one that hasn't grown up amongst a lot of, I want to say people, but it's not people, amongst a community. So they feel very isolated, and they're looking at everyone else that at least have like similar looking people, but they don't have that, and that just creates like a weird complex type of thing. So anyways, walking down like this damp cobblestone path, lit by the faint light of the moon, Nyx suddenly hears this type of tune. Following this tune, it's very late at night, they don't know where this is coming from. They follow the tune, and it eventually leads them into this small little bar tavern type of place. They're immediately drawn to it. They open the door, and what they see is, another changeling. A changeling that looks not exactly like them, but, it's visually a changeling. It's not a changeling taking the form of something else. It's a changeling in its natural form, performing in front of all of these people. They're awestruck because they've never seen someone else like them, especially performing in front of other people and being praised, having this talent. And they stay behind. That night, Nyx stayed at the club until the changeling played their last song. As soon as they stepped off the stage, Nyx went up to them asking if they could talk to them over, a pint of beer, to which the bard happily obliged, because, we need to play into those bard stereotypes. And they started talking for hours about anything and everything under the sun. And at the end of the conversation, Nyx didn't only decide that this bard was going to be the person that they were going to look up to for the rest of their life, but the bard had also been so touched by a fellow changeling, being enchanted by their music, that the bard decided to give Nyx their lyre, to which Nyx would learn to cherish. Eventually, years go by. Nyx had received this lyre from this bard that they look up to, and they start learning how to play. And they eventually learn that, hey, they're pretty good at this. So years go by. Nyx eventually follows the path of their idol. They learn how to play the lyre alongside other instruments, and eventually started walking all around the world, singing tunes to whoever would listen, and performing in various different taverns for some coin and a place to stay. Because, of course, bards within the D&D lore, they get to stay in places for free as long as they perform, which is very nice for the pocket. It is a very nice perk. On one of these occasions, where they had been performing, the audience had encouraged them to drink with them. One drink soon turned into 5, and after 5, they turned into 10. And by the 17th drink, the night started getting very fuzzy. Before they knew it, they woke up behind the tavern. It was early morning. The sun had awoken them. But even though they had woken up in a completely different place to where they remember being last, they were completely fine. They weren't hurt, they weren't injured. However, the lyre that they had received from this other bard a couple years prior was completely gone. The lyre had meant so much to Nyx throughout all of these years. The fact that they had received it from their idol, the fact that this was something that they cherished, and it had disappeared completely, made them feel completely distraught. They looked around, but the lyre was nowhere to be found. And then, obviously, they tried to go back to the tavern in which they had assumed that they had just left it the night prior, but the tavern was mysteriously closed. And when they asked around for the owner, they had apparently left town hours prior to them waking up. And with that, the lyre was gone, and they had no idea where to find it or who might have been responsible for this. However, upon asking more of the people in the town, they find out that the owner of the tavern had left with what seemed to be a lyre under their arm and a cheeky little grin on their face. So, where we are right now, or at the beginning of the campaign, we have Nyx that is not only grieving the loss of the lyre that was gifted to them by their idol, but also they are extremely pissed that they can't find anyone willing to take responsibility for the fact that the lyre is gone, or at least help them find it. So now they just walk around, going from tavern to tavern, hoping that they will eventually find the person, the individual that had stolen their lyre and just getting it back. Now, could we sense a little bit of hypocrisy in the sense that Nyx decided to allow themselves to be swayed by the public and completely inebriate themselves to the point in which they had no control over their actions or leaving their belongings? Or like, who should really be blamed for this situation? Of course, the lyre was stolen by this cheeky little tavern owner, or was it? You can't really be certain because Nyx blacked out completely. So this is just what I had been creating, the backstory for the character. I just wanted this this person having this identity crisis and having like a clear motive as to why they want to travel and go from place to place, so that it makes sense within the setting of the story. When it comes to the looks of Nyx, when coming up with what I wanted them to look like, I really wanted it to work within what had been established as to be canon. So I had to Google what other people had done for their changeling characters and implement them into mine. I had already, as I mentioned before, I already had an idea of what I wanted to do with this character, like the identity crisis, and I already had an idea of what a changeling was. So I just wanted to be able to express that through the way that they looked. In other words, giving them this blank canvas type of vibe. But I also wanted to add a little bit of personality, especially through the clothing that they wear, because everything else is just so, I don't want to say bland, but forgettable. It's not anything that sticks out, but the clothes should be, especially since they're at this point in their lives where they're like, you know what, this is what I am. I'm going to just work with that. And I've noticed that this blank canvas theme seems to be very common among other characters. I at least when you Google them and when you look on Pinterest and stuff. But I also wanted to add some elements from outside of what everyone else does in D&D. Changelings aren't exactly uncommon in media, as I think I mentioned before. So I wanted to look up and see what I could come up with, looks wise. And this is basically what I got, So yeah, anyways, I know that this wasn't a rant or an educational video, but I really hope that you enjoyed. Also, if you play D&D, what's your character like? And if you haven't, like, what would you like your character to be like? Just comment down below. And if I think that your idea is cool, then I might even end up drawing them if you want me to, like if you allow me to. And you send me like little inspiration pics on my Instagram. So yeah, stay safe and don't be a stranger. Peace!